Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing The Heights, written by Louise Candlish. Here's the book. It's a mystery and a thriller. There are some parts that are a bit over the top, that are a bit not believable, but it has some great twists and some great mystery elements, and the thrills are there in small portions, so I think it's more of a mystery. It's the first time I've read this author, and I will go back and read more by the same author, so I enjoyed it enough to want to read more by this author. Let's talk more about this now. So early on in this book, we get the hook, and the hook is also described on the back cover, so it's not a surprise really. So the hook is our main character, Alan. She spots a man on a balcony in a neighbouring building where she is at the time. And that man she recognises as being a guy that shouldn't be alive. He should have died over 2 years ago. And she knows that because she was responsible for his death. So immediately she's shocked. She's also a bit frightened. She's also a bit angry. How could he be dead? Because he was responsible for something else happening in her life, to her life. And the reason he's dead is because she was taking revenge on that action. So she's got all these emotions just rumbling under her surface, ready to erupt. And as a character, she's very emotive. Her emotions run wild. She's over the top with her emotions though as well. So in this plot, we have a lot of moments that are over the top. And what the characters do, how they react, how they feel, is a bit over the top, even for a work of fiction. The book does jump between past and present, and I found the past storyline better than the present storyline. There's a few good twists in there as well. One of the big twists towards the end, though, it's not a surprise. It was telegraphed early on. It was too easy to spot. So I think the author should have done a better job at hiding all the twists. Some of the twists are very surprising. So some are well written. And I think this author can prove that she writes twists very well. I just wish that the main twist, the one at the end, wasn't so telegraphed. I wanted that to be hidden more in the book. In the past storyline, we see a lot of Alan, and we see a lot of why she doesn't like this person, this guy called Kieran. What is it about him that almost drives her to be paranoid, to protect her family and herself? And what event causes her to want Kieran dead? We get that in the past storyline. So I'm not going into detail on that, but it's a very strong storyline. The past storyline has a lot more strength in it than the present storyline. So it's not really even in the book. I found the past storyline much more compelling. I did think the plot was well structured, it was well planned, it seemed well thought out. There are just some moments I think the author went a bit over the top with reactions, with emotions, with the characters just going a bit beyond what I thought would be the realms of reality, even in a work of fiction. So I think that could have been reeled in a bit. Maybe in editing, they could have just picked that out in a few places and nipped it a bit, just to give it a bit of balance. I think in some parts the book lacked a bit of balance in those sections. But for the main part, the novel is strong, the plot's strong, the mystery is strong, and in the past storyline, I found that very strong. There are quite a number of characters in this book that you could talk about. There are quite a few characters that are well written. They jump out of the page at you. Even some characters that aren't there for a lot of pages are very well structured and well plotted in the book, and they're well crafted. I've chosen 3 characters that I think shape the plot the most. The first one is Ellen, our main character. She's a mother in the book, and she's the driving force for most of the book, and most of the book is from her point of view as well. She's an interesting character because in some sections you really do empathise with her and you feel sorry for her and you're right behind her, but in other sections you just feel like she's going over the top and what she's doing is too extreme and just out of the ordinary. And you kind of cringe a bit sometimes with what she does in the book. You can understand where she's coming from for the whole book though. Even when she's going too far, you can understand what's driving her motives and driving those actions. So in a sense, the character is very complex, very complete, a lot of light and shade as well, a lot of ups and downs. So it does feel like a real person, and it feels like it's a real person that's struggling to cope with an extreme situation. The only flaw or negative about this character, Ellen, is that she has a unique phobia with heights, and it's something to do with if she's somewhere up high and she's at an edge of somewhere, she feels like she wants to jump. And to avoid doing that, she doesn't go up bridges, she doesn't go into high buildings, she avoids heights as much as she can. But towards the end of the book, in a scene right at the end with some main characters, she's in a building up high and doesn't seem to faze her as much as I thought it would. So I think that's a bit of a flaw in the book, and I thought that her condition wasn't explored as much as it should have been. Kieran is our villain of the piece. He's a villain in the eyes of Ellen and some other characters. He's our driving force for a lot of what happens in this book, in the past and the present storylines. He's an interesting character. As a villain, he's written quite well. Even though in the past storyline, he's young, he's a teenager, he's written with a lot of feeling that he's sinister, that he's quite dark, there's something wrong with him, and you get a sense of that in the way he's presented through the eyes of other characters like Ellen. And that's how you see this character Kieran most, is through other people's eyes. So you're getting a sense of the character, people are judging him, and in response, the reader judges him as well, and we judge him based on what these characters show us. So maybe we're getting a bit of a skewed view of Kieran, but it seems justified. With some of the things that go on in this book, it does seem justified that the characters feel this way about Kieran. Vic is Ellen's ex-boyfriend and the father of their son Lucas. We get some chapters from Vic's point of view in the last part of this book, and I think that's a good thing, because having chapters all based on Ellen's point of view was getting a bit tiring, because a lot of them were very exhausting, very overdramatic, a lot of big emotions and big feelings going on in those chapters, and Vic is a sort of balance. So from Vic's point of view, we get more of a balanced view of what's going on, and we see a character that's trying to do the right thing, trying to keep everybody safe on both sides of the fence. So trying to keep Ellen safe and trying to keep Kieran, our villain, safe as well. And we get a sense in this book of why that is. I won't give it away, but you get to understand Vic's motives and where they're coming from, and they do make sense. And he's there as a balancing force, as people's rocks to cling to. Even when they don't realise it, he's there to help them and support them and be their balance. He's there to be their guide through big events that may cause them to act in very rash ways. I did enjoy this novel. I thought it was a good mystery. I thought it was quite strong, very well plotted. I thought the characters, on the most part, were very good. Many of the characters are very believable, even small characters that pop up every now and then. So I think the author has a good grasp of writing characters that are very real, of all different ages, male and female, and you don't get a lot of authors who do that very strongly right through a book. So I am interested in reading more books from this author. I rate this a 3 out of 5. It's very strong. It's not great. There are some flaws in it. I thought some of the twists were a bit telegraphed. I thought some of just the things that happen in the story were a bit over the top with some of the ways that the characters do react. But I thought on the whole, I thought it was above average, and I thought it was a very strong read. I do review a lot more mysteries on my channel. If you're interested in those videos, check out my channel and subscribe. There's also a mystery playlist on my channel. Should be on your screen now.